All right, so in this week's guitar lesson, you're going to learn how to play a Chicago blues style jam by yourself. And there's nothing more rewarding than having a little jam session with yourself. All you need is a guitar and a pick, and that's all the gear you need. You don't have to go bother a friend. You don't have to get out a jam track. You've got all the stuff you need to be able to really make a groove and have a lot of fun. And this is a great way to practice your rhythm. So there's actually two things we're going to be looking at in this week's lesson. One is the rhythm part, the shuffle rhythm with the right hand. And we're going to talk about that in this video. But in the part 2 video, we're going to talk about a call and response thing. So that happens in part 2, where we have different calls, which are basically little lead licks. And then we have the same response to those calls. And so it's just a really fun way to kind of have a little back and forth conversation with yourself with one instrument. So we'll talk about all of that over the course of 2 videos. If you'd like to get that part 2 video and also download the tablature for this, and also access the on-screen tab viewer, which is a great way to learn. You have the tab and video on the screen at the same time. You can loop it, you can slow it down, all of those extra features. You can get those things by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP543. Okay, so this little blues jam is in the key of E. So our 1 chord is an E. It's a 1-4-5 chord progression, which means there's 3 chords. You have an E, that's your 1 chord. An A is your 4 chord. A B7, or a B, is your 5 chord. 1-4-5. You hear me talk about that a lot. And it's in so much of our Western music. 1-4-5 is the bones. It's the spine of blues. It's the spine of country and of a lot of rock. You know, like rock and roll, which really is the blues if you trace it all back. But bluegrass and folk, it's in everything. And so that's why I come back to this format, because if you can't understand the 1-4-5 and how to improvise around it, how to create rhythms with it, then you're going to struggle with all the rest of it. So this is like the essential way to really learn how to improvise and understand your instrument. And I don't think there's a structure, at least in Western music, that's more prominent than the 1-4-5. So we're in the key of E. And actually, let's listen to the first part of this, and then we'll break down the rhythm and what's going on there. All right, so let me play through that again. I'll play through it slowly. I want you to watch my right hand, though. Pay attention to the right hand, the movement of the right hand. It never really breaks. It's always down, up, down, up. Even when I'm not playing a note, the movement's still there. It's like this. So you can see that little, it's almost like once you do it, once you can feel this, and this is the kind of thing that I can't, there's not a real formula. No, I'm going to hint at one, but there's not, you almost have to just do it. It's sort of like dancing. Once you get the groove though, you feel it and you know it's right when you're tapping it out, or you're feeling it, you're strumming it out with your right hand. And so it's a shuffle. So it's not like this. It's not down, up, down, up, down, up, robotic. It's down, up, down, up, down, up. It's like this. A little bit of a lazy swagger. Imagine somebody walking across the floor. They're not walking like this. They're kind of, shuffling their feet a little bit, sort of sliding into, kind of a cool way of getting across the room. That's what this rhythm style is. So to start off with our left hand, we're going to make an E chord, and then we're going to do a downstroke on the bottom part of the chord, or the 6th string, and then we're going to do an upstroke on strings 1 and 2. If you happen to hit strings 1, 2, and 3, that's okay. So it's like this. So it's down, up, and then there's another down, up. Now that can be muted like this, or it could be nothing. It could just be air, but the motion is there. Let me do it slowly. See, so that was the next part we're going to get to, but it's down, up, and that's the next lick. So let's get into the next lick, and then all these extra little fills will start to make sense. So this next thing we're going to put, I use my middle finger and ring finger on the 2nd fret, strings 2 and 3, and I'm doing a half bend. I'm just bending them as best I can. Now, if you're on an acoustic guitar, that part might be a little tricky, but you can do it a little bit. We're going to bend it, release it, and then we're going to come down to the 3rd string, 1st fret. We're going to actually just hit the open 3rd string and do a little trill with our index finger on the first fret there. Now, when I play that little thing, I'm thinking about my E chord. Where's my index finger when I make my E chord? Oh yeah, first fret, third string. So it's kind of like getting into back into that E chord. All right, so let's back it up from the beginning and just play that part. I'll count it in. We'll go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then watch this. Up, down, up, muted. Which means I just let my fingers rest across the string. Up, down, up, and then. So when I'm playing that, 3rd fret, 6th string, just downstrokes there, down, down, and then just back to where we started with this downstroke on the open E string, that 6th string. And then the whole thing resets itself. So that really is the rhythm. Now let me do it again. I'll count it in. We'll do a 4 count. 1. And remember, we come in on the 1. I should have said that the first time. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Back. Now, before you move on, that's where you need to practice. You need to just be able to do that and do that comfortably. Get that rhythm going, and you'll know when you've got it. You'll just know. You don't have to have somebody tell you. You'll just feel it. And for some of you, you can do this in 2 or 3 tries. You'll just be able to do it. And some of you, that's going to be a lot of work just to get that far. But don't be discouraged by it. You just have to know that this is part of the struggle of learning any instrument. We're all at different levels. Some of us are with basketball. Some of us can slam dunk right away. Some of us just I'm the worst at any sport. And so it takes me forever to be able to do any kind of technical thing outside of instruments. And even with other instruments, I'm struggling. I'm still trying to learn violin, and that's killing me. But anyway, get that rhythm down. That's a great blues rhythm. If you have nothing else, you can walk away with that idea and apply that to your rhythm playing or lots of things. All right, so notice we loop through it twice. Same thing. Now the third time, it goes like this. The third time there's a variation. We're going to get out of that loop and we're going to start playing some little lead stuff. Remember, we're doing a jam by ourselves. So we've established a rhythm because we played it through it twice. Now we can break free from that and we can start to improvise a little. So now where this is coming from, these notes, this is minor pentatonic scale. Actually, all the lead stuff we're going to be doing in this, pretty much I think all of it is just minor pentatonic scale, E minor pentatonic scale, since we're playing the key of E. So this would be pattern 1. So I'm right here on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, and I'm doing as close as I can get to a full bend there. And then I hit the open 1 string. And then we go back to that 2nd fret, 3rd string, and do that. A little bend and release, open 3rd string, 2nd fret, 4th string. So just get that. All right, so after this, then I played this. All right, let's look at that. It's not as hard as it sounds. So you've got that part of it. And then we're going to go, that's up, down, up on the 1st string, open E string. And then watch this. Let's learn that. I'll explain where this is coming from in a minute, but it's a hammer on. This is on the 2nd string. We're going to hammer onto the 2nd fret. We're back to the open 1 string. And then watch this. 3, 2, open, 3, 2, open on string 1 and then string 2. And then we come down to the 2nd fret, 3rd string. So we land there, so we go. And then we're just going to go back into our E chord. And that's all I'm thinking about there is an E chord. I'm hammering on where my index finger is. playing the open 1 string, and then pinky goes down on the 3rd fret 2nd string to create an E7 sound. So altogether, that little run goes like this. Now I realize that the speed is going to be the hardest part of that, but remember, you can set whatever tempo you want. So if you're struggling with trying to play that stuff, just slow it all down until you can get it comfortable. You can always start to increase the speed over time. This sounds just as good slow as it does fast, so there's no right answer on tempo. So just remember, you start that on the 1 string, the open 1 string, with an upstroke. So up, down, up. And then we're going to come down to the 2nd string. That's a downstroke with a hammer on. And then you do an upstroke on that open 1st string. Now from here, we're going to do down, up, down, up. It's just going to be alternate picked all the way through. So it's... Okay, so now we come to the 4 chord, which is our A. And I played it right here. I'm borrowing the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret. I played the open 5th string, and I did an upstroke on strings 3 and 4, or maybe strings 2 and 3. It's just sort of like the bottom part of the chord and the top part. Now I can't hit the 1st string because it's barred there. So it's like, so whatever's on the tab on the screen, that's what I did. But after that, I went. Now it's the same cadence, it's the same idea that we played over the E chord. So picture your E chord, right? Right? And then you could play your A chord up here, but these 3 fingers are making that E shape. So you can see I took the idea from here and I just moved it up. I'm capoing with my index finger. Now I didn't play the full bar chord there, but I'm doing this as a visual reference to show you that this is the same as... Right? You can see it now. Oh yeah, there's your E chord. There's that little lick. Here's your A chord. There's the lick. So let that be, give you ideas for ways you can take ideas from one chord shape and use it all over the fretboard. Never just limit yourself to one position. If you learn something, figure out how you can work it into other positions, other chords. Okay, so we have the A. And that same strum pattern with the right hand. And I do the same little sort of bass line like I did for the E, but this time I'm doing it on the 5th string. So it's open, and then we go to the 3rd fret 5th string, back to your open. So it's like this. And then watch this. That was another little variation I wanted to work in just to make it sound a little more interesting. So after we play the A chord, we established that. I did a slide up to this triad. It's a little triad. It's the top part of your A bar chord, but we don't need to do the whole chord. We're sliding up to the 6th fret 3rd string, then strings 1 and 2 on the 5th fret. So you can see that's just an A chord. And then that's just another triad. We're still in the top 3 strings, but I came up and played an A7. So relate this A7, which is your D7 shape, by the way, if we're thinking caged. But we have the A chord there, that triad, and then up here. So to me, where I've got this chord, I've also got the 7 version of this chord here. And that's just a connection point I've made in my mind. You could make this connection point to your A chord here using the D shape and then the D7. However, works best for you. But to me, that's just how I've done it. So I slid up to here. That's the 9th fret, strings 3 and then 1, and then I come to that middle string, or the middle string of those 3, which is the 2nd string, and hit that 8th fret and play. That's the beginning of Red House as well. It's the same chord. Okay, so. So then we come back to the E chord and I play. That time I switched it up a little bit and played the E. The first part was the same. to the hammer on, first string, and then put my pinky down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string to play an E7. And then I came up here and threw in this little lick. It goes. I love this lick. It's just so fun. It's just minor pentatonic scale. We come up into pattern 4. So I anchor my index finger on the 7th fret 1st string and then put my middle finger on the 8th fret 2nd string to play this. Now you hear this in the blues all the time, especially with a little bit of a bend. So I always come to this. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you see me when I'm playing the blues, I come to this lick all the time. I just love it. And so from there, I can put my pinky down on the 9th fret 1st string and play that, which sounds kind of weird. Now that note is not in your minor pentatonic scale, but it is in your major pentatonic scale, your E major. So just think of it that way. I don't want to go into it any more than that. So it's 9 down to the 7th fret, and then down to that 8th fret 2nd string. And then this is pattern 4 of your minor pentatonic scale for E. But it's 9th fret 3rd string, 9th fret 4th string, and then we come down to the 7th fret 3rd string. So let's put those pieces together. It makes it easy because they're in groups of 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to slide on that 4th string from the 9th fret down to the 7th fret, 5th fret, and then 7th fret 5th string. And then that last note is the 5th fret 4th string. So that's the lick. So now we come to the 5 chord, which is our B7. So I hit that B7 chord first, made the chord, and then I hit the 5th string behind the 2nd fret, then strum the chord, and then hit that open B string, which is my 2nd string. That allows me to take my hand off the fretboard, so now I can get in position to play this lick. So after you hit the open B, we're going to go 3rd fret 2nd string, open 1st string, and then hammer on pull off between the open 1st string and the 2nd fret. And then we're going to come back to the 3rd fret 2nd string and then just walk it down. 2nd fret 3rd string, open. 2nd fret 4th string, open. And then 2nd fret 5th string. So all together that little B lick goes. And then we go back to the 4 chord, which is our A, and I just hit the open 5th string to establish the bass note, and then I slid into this, which we've already done. This is that triad, which is out of your A chord here, using the E shape, just strings 3 and 1. And then I used that in same shape and slid it down 2 frets and played that. So that's just one of those takeaway ideas. You get like the 7 sound, that like an A7 sound of whatever chord you're doing here if you walk that down 2 frets. You just have to trust me on that. So you can always walk that down 2 frets to get that sort of bluesier dominant 7 sound. And then we come down to strings 4 and 2 and play. I love this. This whole little phrase here off of this A is a really good one to use. So when we come from here, we're going to put our 2 fingers. I put my middle finger on the 4th string, ring finger on the 2nd string. I'm going to start them here on the 5th fret, and I'm going to slide them up to the 7th fret. So 7th fret 4th string, and then 7th fret 2nd string. And then we'll just walk that down chromatically. Like that. And that whole thing has a very A7 sound. But connect that little phrase. If you like that, it's a great little bluesy kind of thing that you can work into your lead or rhythm. But connect it back to your E shape. That's what I do. Like when I see this E shape, when I visualize it, I can see there's that 7 chord we used earlier. I can see this. I have all these little harmonized sixths, which these are, that are related to this chord shape. So that way, if we're playing in the key of G, for example, I can see them there. You can start to just picture all of this stuff, and once you can connect it back to a chord shape, it's like it just unlocks the whole thing for you. So from the A, and then we're back to the E. The way that we started it. So it just goes right back into that E loop. And that's really the whole first half of this. So just remember, as you're going through this, the right hand is really the key to getting that sound, that shuffle sound. Just remember, down, up, down, up. And it doesn't matter if you're playing a rhythm like that, or if you're playing a fill lick, or if you're playing a lead. Even if I'm playing a single string lead, notice it's still down, up, down, up. Because I'm trying to keep the vibe of the song, which is the cadence of it. I guess that's a better way to say it. I'm trying to keep that shuffle feel. So because there's no jam track, there's no drummer and a bass player that's helping with that, I have to keep it going and just sort of imagine that. So some of you are going to be better at that than others. You might need to, use a metronome if that helps to have some kind of a constant. Otherwise, you can just tap your foot, which is what I tend to do. All right, so make sure you join us for part 2, where we go over the call and response. You've got licks and then responses to those licks. So this is a whole other thing, but it's all connected to this style of blues. But we'll go over that in part 2, and then you would have access to the tab for all this as well, if you're interested. All right, we'll see you in part 2.